Politics or a cult? About 30%, 31, 32% of my audience comes from the USA. And I thought it might be interesting to talk about some of the similarities and differences between the cultures of Australia and of America. Now, obviously, we share a lot in the way of popular culture, particularly in cinema, TV, and music. Our actors continue to infiltrate your Hollywood. Ostensibly, at least, we share similar libertarian and democratic principles. Although I don't think you have to dig very far below the surface to see some significant differences. Those values are, in fact, seriously under threat in the USA today, and the rest of us look on quite bewildered by it all. Of course, major differences surround questions of religion and gun ownership. I dealt with religion in an earlier video, and I don't really want to talk about it again today. I also don't really want to get embroiled in the gun debate. I will highlight the difference between us here in Australia and you in America simply by pointing out that here there's scarcely any debate about it at all. The question of race is another difference. There are, of course, serious race issues here in Australia, and I do think there's quite a deep streak of racism that runs through Australian society. But the US seems obsessed with the concept of race in a way that we most certainly are not. An awful lot of pigeonholing and categorizing seems to go on. Of course, there are also differences in the way we speak. We often use different words for the same thing or the same word for different things. For instance, we speak about the boot of a car, not the trunk, the bonnet, not the hood. What we call biscuits, Americans call cookies, and what they call biscuits, we call scones or scones. At least that's what they seem most like. We use different idioms and colloquialisms, and of course, we have different accents. And I do sometimes wonder if Americans have any difficulty understanding me or wondering what the hell I'm talking about. But the main difference that I'd like to address today is our attitude towards our political leaders. Now, I'm going to get up on my soapbox a little bit here, so heed my words. Of course, in Australia, there are people who have very strong political convictions, one way or the other. But most of us probably wallow around in the swamps of indifference. We certainly don't, by and large, kill our political opponents, or threaten to kill them, or threaten to imprison them. Maybe we just don't care enough. Maybe it's just apathy. But I'm inclined to think that that's better than the alternative. Above all, we do not love our various prime ministers. We do not idolise them. We don't have a history in Australia or even an inclination towards a cult of personality. We're way too cynical for that. When I look at the political landscape of the USA, and I do look at it, it's very difficult to look away from a train crash. This cult of personality worries me at least as much as any other aspect. I don't care what side of politics you may be on. Do not idolize your leader. Do not worship them. Do not love them. Do not form any kind of personal attachment to them. Don't fangirl over them or fanboy over them. They're not rock stars, they're not celebrities. They're there to do a job, to govern the country. Love these leaders or idolize them or become too personally attached to them, and democracy is dead. They've got you by the short and curlies. Our political leaders, even those on our side of politics, even those with whom we feel the strongest affinity, must always be subjected to criticism and to the closest scrutiny. don't love them, except in the vague and somewhat vacuous sense of loving everybody. Love your mother, love your father, love your children, love your brothers and your sisters. Help, love your dog, but do not love your presidents or would be presidents.